There are families you know by name, and then there are families you know by legend. The difference between the two isn't always money. Sometimes it's silence. For 200 years, one name has carried more weight than most governments, more mystery than most myths: the Rothschilds. Not because they shouted, because they whispered. And in 2010, one of them finally spoke. Not to defend, not to explain, just to exist. On record, in their own words. What they said wasn't what anyone expected. It wasn't about gold, or power, or control. It was about survival, and what it costs to carry a name that heavy. Benjamin de Rothschild sat across from a reporter in 2010, 47 years old, head of the French branch. Estimated family wealth, $4 billion. The first thing he said? Not about banks, about his wife. I think women today are better suited for business than men. He wasn't joking. He wasn't performing. He was handing her the keys to everything. Ariane de Rothschild. Born Ariane Langner, not born into the dynasty, married into it in 1999. And by 2010, Benjamin was already stepping back, transferring control, piece by piece. This wasn't succession planning. This was trust. In a family famous for keeping wealth inside bloodlines, he gave it to someone who chose to join, because he believed she understood something the men had forgotten: that wealth isn't inherited, it's carried, and carrying it requires more than a name. But let's be honest, the Rothschild name isn't just about legacy, it's about legend. And legend is rarely kind. For 2 centuries, conspiracy theories have clung to this family like shadows. Some were invented, some were exaggerated, some were rooted in something real. The Battle of Waterloo myth. The story goes, Nathan Rothschild used insider knowledge of Napoleon's defeat to manipulate the London stock market in 1815, bought bonds cheap, sold high, made a fortune overnight. Great story, completely false. First appeared in an 1846 pamphlet written by a French journalist using the pen name Satan. That should tell you something. But the myth survived, because myths about Jewish wealth always do. By 1940, the Nazis made a propaganda film about the Rothschilds, state-sponsored, designed to justify genocide. And it used the same rumors that had been circulating for 100 years. Fast forward to today, the myths have migrated online. Claims about controlling central banks, engineering pandemics, owning $500 trillion in a world with $250 trillion total wealth. None of it holds up. But it spreads anyway, because conspiracy theories don't need proof. They need belief. And the Rothschilds? They stopped defending themselves decades ago, not because the accusations are true, because silence is survival. In 1938, everything changed. The Nazis swept into Austria, and they went straight for the Rothschilds. Palaces seized, art collections looted. Louis Nathaniel de Rothschild arrested. Held until his family paid a ransom, $21 million, just to let him leave. Some relatives didn't make it out. Some perished in camps. The Austrian branch, destroyed. The French branch, looted during occupation. And decades later, in 1982, the French government nationalized the Rothschild Bank. David René de Rothschild had to rebuild, from almost nothing. Reportedly, $1 million, for a family once called the richest in the world. That's where the story should have ended, but it didn't. Because the Rothschilds have always understood one thing better than anyone else. Wealth isn't about having, it's about adapting. After Benjamin de Rothschild died in 2021, Ariane took full control, not as a placeholder, as CEO, of the Edmond de Rothschild Group, managing 158 billion Swiss francs in assets. She gave a rare interview to the Financial Times in 2018, and she said something that stopped people cold. The old model of private banking is dying. The clients of the future are different. The assets of the future, different. If we don't adapt, we disappear. She wasn't talking about tradition. She was talking about extinction. And she was right. Private banking used to mean managing inherited European wealth, aristocrats, old families, old money. But that world is shrinking. The new wealth? Tech founders, crypto millionaires, global citizens with no allegiance to any flag. Ariane understood that, so she restructured, modernized, took risks the men before her wouldn't. And in a 2010 profile, she said something that reveals everything about who she is. Business should be fun. From a woman managing one of the world's most legendary fortunes, that line says it all. Then there's Hannah Rothschild, Jacob's daughter, filmmaker, writer. She built her career outside the family name, deliberately. After Jacob died in 2024, she sat down with CNBC. Rare interview. And she revealed something shocking. Nobody in the family knew his succession plans until after he was gone. No meeting, no announcement, just instructions left behind. I made up my path, she said. She's now on the board of RIT Capital Partners, chair of Yad HaNadiv, former chair of the National Gallery in London. Finance, culture, philanthropy, the same blend that's always defined this family. But with one difference, she chose it. She wasn't born into a role, she invented one. And her brother David? He built a boat out of recycled plastic bottles, called it the Plastiki, and sailed it across the Pacific to protest pollution. The family that financed the Industrial Revolution now has a member protesting what it did to the planet. If that's not evolution, nothing is. Here's what the rare interviews actually reveal. Not a family controlling the world, but a family outlasting it. They didn't survive because they were the richest. They survived because they adapted. When the world needed war financing, they provided it. When it needed infrastructure, they funded railways. When governments collapsed, they rebuilt. And when their own institutions were destroyed, they started over. Jacob Rothschild said it best in 1965. The family must strive to become a repository of intellect as much as of wealth. That's the part no one talks about. The wealth was never the point. It was the tool. What mattered was what you built with it, and whether it lasted. The red shield that hung over a house in the Frankfurt ghetto in the 1440s still hangs today. Not because the family refused to change, but because they never stopped. The Rothschilds don't give interviews often, and when they do, they don't defend. They don't explain. They just exist. On their own terms, in their own time. The myths will keep circulating. The theories will keep mutating. But the family? They'll keep adapting. Because that's what 200 years of survival teaches you. It's not about being the loudest, or the richest, or even the most powerful. It's about being the last one standing when everyone else is burned out, or faded, or forgotten why they started. The Rothschilds remember. They remember the ghetto, the locked gates, the red shield, and they make sure every generation after them remembers too. Not to boast, to survive. Because in the end, legacy isn't what you inherit. It's what you refuse to let die. They want content that's smart enough to question, bold enough to expose, real enough to trust. Before you go, hit that subscribe button. We don't just review history, we reveal it. From the myths to the facts to the voices that rarely speak. So tap like, hit subscribe, and join the thousands who already know. Understanding the past starts with hearing it honestly.